looking to finance a portion of your boat, let me give you some tips to get the best possible boat loan, save you some money, save you some time, save you some hassle. Hi, I'm Captain Matt. I'm the author of the book, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, and have helped millions and millions of people on this channel find the right boat, save money, avoid mistakes. So let's talk about boat loan mistakes. The best thing to get the best rate, this is what you need to know. You need a 780 plus credit score, and that's a credit score that is a recreational loan credit score. If you're not aware, there's different credit scores and formulas based on the type of lender. So a mortgage lender uses one, credit card lender uses one, auto lenders uses one, and there's a rec credit score. That's typically the score that's used for a recreational boat loan. And the threshold is pretty high because it's a luxury non-necessity. You're also going to get the best rates if you're 10 to 20% down, and that can be based on the sales price. It can also be based on the loan value or the equity in the boat, typically on a used boat. Now, this loan value, it's not necessarily the J.D. Power's book value that we look at for research on are we getting a good deal. They've actually got a different program that they use to build the value. They typically will include some accessories to help get as close to a value as they're comfortable lending on is what that's for. New boats are typically going to have a little bit better interest rates, although new boats that are under 5 years old are going to be very close. There's also a bump in rate for lower loan amounts. They need to charge higher interest rates to make some money to make the loans worth it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do them at all. So under 25,000, you're going to have a little bump. Under 50,000, you have a slight bump, and over 100,000, you're going to get the best rates. Okay. Also, just for a tip, boats that are over 20 to 30 years old can be real tough to finance via traditional marine lender. But credit unions are a great option if you are looking at an older boat. They're very friendly to used boat buyers, and you can almost always find a credit union that will accept you as a member. They just go through a series of questions until you can answer one that allows you to be a member. So here's some tips for you. To get matched with the best boat lender based on your situation, we've actually created a program here where I've gone out and I find some of the best loan providers out there. And I've set up a filtering system where they tell me where they're strongest, and then I filter you based on your situation to the appropriate lender. So no, you don't need to go ask on Facebook, who's the best lender, because everybody's situation's different. They may recommend a great lender, but they're not great for you. So I try to take that out of it and match you with the right one, and also have a very high customer service standard with them that if they don't do a great job for my customers, well, I'll plug another one into that system where they are leaving a void. Talk with the boat lender once you're matched with them to create a game plan. This goes for any lender you're working with, but specifically the ones that I've chosen really like this portion of the process where you tell them, hey, this is what I'm looking to accomplish. I'm probably going to pay the loan off in 3 to 5 years when I get my bonus. I get commissions every quarter, and so we're going to chunk down extra $5,000, $10,000 every couple of months. How can we structure this loan? And they're going to help you structure it to best suit your specific situation and how you're going to use that loan. I also encourage you to get pre-approved early in the process. Don't wait till you find the boat that you're going to buy. Go ahead and get pre-approved. And what they'll do is you'll say, I'm looking for this type of boat in this price range, probably around this year. And they'll get you a pre-approved on a boat that is kind of close to that, and that way you're approved. And then as long as the boat stays similar, you've got a very accurate information of the exact rate, terms, and upfront payment. And tell them how you want everything to go. That's going to be a huge value when you're pre-approved before you're shopping. You structure the loan based on how you're going to play it out over the lifetime that you own the boat. And they're going to give you an actual dollar amount of what that upfront payment, what the payments look like. And that way, when you've got your Boat Buyer's Toolkit, which you can grab from us, you can plug that into the calculator, and now you can really start getting an exact picture of what your cost of ownership looks like. So you're not caught off guard by anything where you find the right boat, and you're like, oh, it's going to be way higher than what I expected, or I can't get approved for this type of boat based on my situation. Also, include all of your household income, whether it's documentable or not. They're not the IRS. They're looking for what's the likelihood you're going to pay this loan back? What's the risk? So give them all the income, and then they can determine in your conversation is, all right, if we need to prove income, then we've got to adjust. But that could help you get a little bit lower rate because they know about it. Versus if they never know about it, then you might have to pay more than what's necessary. List both you and your spouse, again, so you can structure the loan in a way that's going to make the most sense. You can always pull them out at the end if it doesn't matter and it's important to you to have one or the other on. Great, we're going to pull that person off and we're going to be able to set it up that way. But having both of you on the application allows them to structure it in a way that's going to be best suited for you. And then discuss early in the process how you want to take ownership of your boat. So, do I want it joint? Are we going to register it at our vacation home? Do we want to maybe register it as a business entity? All of those things can adjust the structure of the loan and how they get you pre-approved. So by having that conversation early and not waiting till a couple days before you're ready to finalize everything, it can make things smoother, but it can also allow you to structure it in a way that's still going to get you the best terms, where if they make that adjustment at the last minute, maybe there's an extra expense to you. So having that conversation early is very important. Couple recommendations in general for your boat loans. I encourage simple interest terms. There's a few lenders out there that don't do simple interest, and they're usually the ones that are internet advertising that aren't specific boat lenders. That simple interest means if I pay an extra 10 grand because I got my commission check, that means I don't have to pay interest on that 10 grand. Okay, over the life of the loan. Not all loans are like that. So make sure that it's simple interest. I prefer fixed rates, so it's a steady payment throughout the life of the loan. And it's not, if rates go up, my payment's not going to go up. And I prefer that for most people. No prepayment penalty, especially if you're a business owner or a commission type person, or you get bonuses and you're going to chunk down a bunch and you're probably a 15-year loan, you're going to pay off in 3 or 4 years. That's going to avoid having a penalty when you pay it off early. Not all loans are like that, so you need to know that. And don't just go with the dealership's lender because that's who they recommend. Usually they're going to be great. Usually they're going to be competitive. But by getting pre-approved and checking with another lender, you may have the opportunity to save some money there, and you may find that it's just a better experience. Or if nothing else, you find that, hey, I can get them to match each other and get the best opportunity, okay? Another thing, especially if you're buying a used boat, the fraud and pitfalls. Fraud over the last 5 years it's gone up a ton. I mean, you get the spam phone calls, the prince from Nigeria emailing you. The lender is going to help you avoid fraud, but also pitfalls of just titling and registration errors on the paperwork. They're going to make sure, because it's very important for them to have it right, and they do this every day, so it's all going to be done properly. The fraud, they're going to do title checks. They're going to make sure that the person selling you the boat is the person on the registration, is the person, if there's a loan involved that you've got to pay off, they're going to make sure that goes smoothly. And they're also going to help with an out-of-state buyer, because you've got different registration and titling going on in one state versus another. The boat I bought, it was registered in Tennessee, the boat and the trailer. So I had to then do all the paperwork to get it switched over to South Carolina, which fortunately I knew what I was doing, but if I didn't, it would have been very, very confusing, because I've done it hundreds of times when I was selling the boats. So another thing about the fraud is, one of our lenders, they told me the other day that they've prevented over $1 million of fraud in just the past 2 years. So when I say fraud is on the rise, you probably can sense it just in your gut, but in the boat loan world, it's happening more and more. So you've really got to protect yourself when you find that boat that looks like it's the perfect opportunity. So again, the higher rates. Here's what's going to make you pay a little bit higher rate that maybe you can plan for and adjust. So the recreational credit scores is going to be above 780. So one great way to raise your credit score is if you have credit cards. If you're below 30% of line of credit to balance, that's going to raise your score dramatically. That's like a 30 or 40% chunk of your credit score is what's called credit usage. So if you have the ability, is go ahead and chunk down some of those credit cards short term, get that score up, get your loan, and then you can do whatever you want. It's just that point in time where they want to know your credit score. So that's a great way to raise it. Don't open any new credit accounts and actually take out a loan prior to buying the boat. In about a 6-month window is where it's going to have the biggest impact on your credit score. I owned a mortgage company previously, so I'm really dialed into how credit scores work. Older boats. Older boats over about 5 years is going to give you a little bit higher rate. So if you're looking and you've got one boat that's 3 years old, one boat that's 6 years old that you really like, talk to your lender and say, what's the payment and the rate going to look like on these two? And you may find that the newer, slightly more expensive boat could actually be cheaper on a monthly basis. Lower down payments, lower loan amounts, again, are going to raise those scores up like we talked about, and high debt to income ratios. That's why it's so important to give them all of your household income so that the real picture looks better than what is maybe you didn't disclose something that you could have, and that could have been the difference between getting the best rate and getting a slightly higher rate. So that's all what they consider. Again, if you want to get matched with one of my preferred lenders that I've already kind of sifted and sorted, just go to boatersecretweapon.com/boat loan. You could also go to my homepage. You can also go to my homepage, just boatersecretweapon.com, and we've got the boat loan link right there. Fill out a little bit of information. Once you hit submit, that's going to match you with the lender that's going to be the best fit for you. We'll give you their contact information. They will probably contact you as well. And then if you want to do the full application with them and get pre-approved, just take that next step. Real simple, real easy. And also subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to give monthly boat loan updates, so you have an update on where the interest rates are for a couple of different categories. So if you're still early in the process, you can kind of watch what the market's doing and see where boat loans are. Although they're fairly stable on a short-term basis, they will be adjusting as the economy changes over the coming year. So if you found this valuable, give it a thumbs up. And remember, life truly is better on a boat.